Welcome to Trauma Tea and Tangents, the podcast for those of you who feel like you've never fully been seen, for those whose experiences seem to be chronically invalidated, and for those who have been told they are too much and not enough all at the same time. I'm Hannah Guy, a trauma therapist and the owner of Revive Therapy Services based out of Philadelphia. And this podcast is all about the messy, complicated, and very real parts of being human. Mental health, relationships, trauma, healing, and honestly, just basic life shit. You name it, and we will probably talk about it here. Just a little disclaimer for you. This is not therapy. Nobody's going to make you do a body scan or talk about your triggers. Unless you really want to, then go off, queen. And with all of that being said, let's get into it. Hi, everyone. This is Hannah. I am here today with Rachel Meyer. She is a registered dietitian, or as she likes to call herself, the non-diet dietitian, which we love. And she works for her own group practice called ProStyle Life Nutrition. Welcome, Rachel. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone.
And so before we hopped on, we were discussing what we wanted to talk about. But I was really happy that you threw out the idea of how to have a healthy relationship with food, because I think that is a huge thing a lot of people struggle with. I know I struggle with. And so can you just share a little bit about what intrigues you about that topic?
Absolutely. Yes. So I think it's a significant topic because food is a part of our lives, and it's a big part of our lives. And if we have a beneficial relationship with food, I believe that our quality of life is going to be so much better, and our mental health. And I think, when people have different goals, health related goals or weight related goals, what I see often is that the relationship with food kind of gets sacrificed, or whatever the maybe methods or diets or what's being done to maybe work on those goals. What I'm often seeing is that, the cost of that is the relationship with food, which then, number one, can take a toll on our mental health. And really, when we're having that happen to our mental health, that can then take a toll on our physical health. Like if we're experiencing a lot of stress, or just struggling with that, or if it's like a negative experience with food, often I think it can create a lot of issues and just make things, number one, unsustainable, but again, lead to mental health and take a toll on our physical health. So I think that that's part of, with my practice, that's really important to me, to make sure when we're working on different goals that at the same time we are supporting a beneficial and healthy relationship with food, so that life can be enjoyed more, really. Like we don't have to take the joy out of food to reach goals, and then I think big picture too, like who is in our lives that are also maybe seeing our behaviors and our relationship with food. I'm a new mom, so that I think hits home even more with me now, is I have a 1-year-old, and thinking about our if you have children, that also may be impacting their relationship with food. So I think that's another piece to it that makes me really passionate about this topic.
I mean, it's nuanced. It has so many layers. And one of the things that came to mind while you were talking for me is just this idea that food is not this simple thing. It's a very complex thing. And I think our culture has tried to make it a very simple thing of, especially when it comes to dieting, oh, you want to lose weight, just do this calorie deficit and you'll be good. And I'm like, if it was that simple, it wouldn't be an issue. This wouldn't be a multi-million-dollar industry if it was that simple. You hear the phrase like, oh, well, food is fuel, so I'm going to just approach food that way. And it's like, no, but it's also cultural. It's social. That's how we as humans also connect with one another.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just to take space and validate that I think a lot of people try to minimize their relationship with food, and that increases shame for themselves. I should just be able to only eat X, and I should be able to just cut out sugar, and I don't know why I can't. And because of that, then I'm the failure.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
what does that do? You go binge on sugar later later that day.
Right. That tends to be a common response where it's like getting so down on ourselves or beating ourselves up. And then it's kind of like, well, what's the point? And I'm just gonna, and that is a great example of this kind of the relationship with food. I would challenge, is that really beneficial to be in that kind of cycle where that's happening? And yeah, but that's what I think we're seeing, that at least, what I see a lot of in my practice is that type of, there's at least a history of that. But you're right. There's like that maybe narrative like, oh, I should just be able to do this. And when I don't, I'm the failure. But in reality, yeah, food is like, it's just, brings people closer together. It's a way to show love. We have social situations, we have, food preferences. So I often like to say, we need to go beyond just what we eat to like make real progress. Like we really have to go way beyond just like what you eat. But that's what all the, I think, mostly like diets, they're just telling people like, don't eat this, or here, here are your food rules. And it's a lot of times cookie cutter, and like that's it.
100%. It's so cookie cutter, and it's so rigid, and it's so full of rules. And I think our culture has done a great job at, what's the word? Like, having morality around food. And what I mean by that is we put things in a category as like good food and bad food. And then when we eat food that we have declared is bad, we then feel shame around it. Whereas we should be approaching food as like a neutral, like as neutral as possible. If I'm going to go to McDonald's and get a hamburger, it's not like this horrible thing. There's protein in it, right? There's carbs. Your body needs protein and carbs to function. There's also things that probably, I mean, you can probably speak more to it because you're a dietitian, that probably impact your body in other ways that if you did that for 3 meals a day, that wouldn't be great. But if you also only eat salad for 3 meals a day, that also wouldn't be great for you either. And so it's removing this idea of rigidity with food, of there's a right way and a wrong way to have a relationship with food, and it's leaning into the gray area and
Yeah.
the having the flexibility. Say, okay, yeah, I was with family and I was stressed and I overate and I feel bad about it, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And what can I do right now to give my body what it needs?
Yes.
And that might mean, okay, I want some Twizzlers and I want some vegetables and I want some protein.
Yeah, definitely. It's, I think, kind of figuring out a new way of almost like responding to different situations and to different things, because with all, I mean, diets and things that have been just, these things have been marketed for like years and years, this way of doing things. And I think it's part of the fact, it's one of the factors. Of course, we all have like our own history with food and how we were raised. And that might be a component of what leads or what impacts, our relationship with food. But I think that's like such a big one. It's the diet industry and like the way that the marketing is done and the programs are designed to be so like this food's basically to kind of make people fear foods, and then yeah, like categorize as like good and bad. And when we have those bad foods, or I hear a lot of times, like sometimes the word like cheat food will be used, and it's, yeah, no wonder we feel so shitty when we eat them. We're telling ourselves that they're cheat foods or bad foods. So yeah, we're going to feel really bad or like we're cheating when, we have them. So yeah, I think part of it, it's kind of like kind of inventing or rediscovering our narratives around food and developing some new perspectives so that it does help with responding in a different way.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I think this frigidity that we're talking about is why a lot of people struggle with food and have things like disordered eating. And I work with a lot of people who struggle with eating disorders and struggle with disordered eating. And the biggest thing I see that's a struggle is there's so much shame, right? Two, food often ties into body image, right? And I'd be curious about to get your thoughts on the connection between those two, like how to navigate that. Three, if you look at people who are struggling with mental health conditions, they always have a complicated relationship with food as well. So when we see depression, oftentimes it's not uncommon that I see people who have a decrease in appetite or increase in appetite. And I noticed that there's more shame and increase in appetite just because culturally, like people are praised for under eating and not eating, which is wild if you objectively think about it.
Yeah.
I know I have worked with someone who they are in a bigger body and they actually struggle with eating enough. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people to understand because we make assumptions of you're in a larger body, you must overeat all the time. And it's to the point where I'm kind of like, you're not eating enough and we just need you to eat something. And so I don't care if you're eating like an uncrustable every 2 hours. I'm not a dietitian and I will tell them that, but I'm like, at this point, we just need to increase the volume of what you're eating. And I don't care if it's healthy. I'm putting this in air quotes, healthy or unhealthy. But because of our culture and because of their history of eating disorder, there's so much shame in this fact of like, okay, if I do eat, it needs to be healthy.
Yeah, I think sometimes a lot of times we have to focus on nourishing our bodies and
Yeah.
understanding. I think this is something else that helps with the relationship with food. It's like developing more of an understanding for like how do I ensure I'm getting enough and wording it like the narrative, like enough nutrients to support like the everyday amazing things that my body does for me,
Yeah.
like how hard my body works every single day so that I can breathe, so that I can move and, do whatever hobbies or, whatever it is. And kind of like also developing a simple understanding and foundation for that. Because the truth is that, which I wouldn't expect, like, unless you actually like studied nutrition, went to school for nutrition. I mean, I never was taught much about food when I was in school. Like, I got the food pyramid and like that was it. Until I majored in nutrition, I didn't really know much about definitely to the extent that I do now. And that is part of what I really enjoy helping people with, like building a simple understanding for how to nourish so that you feel your best. You have energy, yeah, you're supporting like preserving your muscle, your health, your hormone regulation. But I think with all the diets out there, there's such an emphasis on like eating as little as possible
And weight loss.
and weight loss. Yeah, right. And it can be challenging to associate like eating more with maybe achieving that or as yeah, a good thing when actually it's important to also work on making sure you are getting enough
Yeah.
nourishment. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think sometimes like building more of an understanding for food can be a way to help with the relationship because otherwise it is easy to fall vulnerable to like all the diet noise and all these food rules
Yeah.
that are constantly pumped out into our social media and into our world. So I think yeah, it can be easy to just kind of fall vulnerable to that and then that impacts our relationship with food.
And I know it impacts my relationship with food and I'm cognizant of it. Right? Like, I specialize in treating eating disorders, and I will get caught up in, like, an Instagram algorithm where I spend maybe a little too much time watching a weight loss video or something, and then all of a sudden, I'm in this wormhole, and I notice I start body checking more. I start, like, feeling bad about my body. I feel more like I need to have more food rules, and I it takes a lot of effort on my part and this is like my job, right? So I'm sitting there imagining someone who is just on their couch mindlessly scrolling and they're digesting that content, they don't have even the thought of maybe pausing and thinking about what messages they're digesting. As you were talking about using food as a way to basically live life the way you want to live life, right? It's for fuel. That's part of it. It's also cultural and connection. What's interesting is so I signed up last December to do a half Ironman in June. And I've never trained for anything really. And I've worked out consistently for the past 6 or 7 years and have never been like, okay, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to commit to this training plan. And one of the hardest things about this, it's not the working out, it's the food for me. It's my relationship with food. I've realized I'm having a lot more like insecurity with my body with food. I'm having more shame around food. And it's something that I'm like very aware of and I'm talking about with my own therapist. But I just need to eat more because I'm working out more. And I have more cravings for food. Like you just have to eat so many carbs, and which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I even get shamed around eating that many carbs for people who don't understand what I'm doing, right? Other people that work out consistently think they're kind of like, you're eating how many carbs? Like you're eating, like I was eating gummy bears on long bike rides because it's carbs and I need carbs and I like gummy bears. And it's been like, well, doesn't that I've had people say like, well, doesn't that defeat the purpose of what you're doing? And I've had to look at them and say, I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to lower my cholesterol or my blood sugar. I'm trying to have energy to do a 3 hour bike ride. And this actually gives me energy to do that. It just yeah, man, I could go on and on about this for a long time. It just is hard. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It really like it just navigating, I think just the food world and like figuring out what works best for you. And I mean, hey, I'm going to like share with you, I have a major sweet tooth. I've had to learn how to like, manage it and get satisfaction from food in a way that like feels good for me. And that is something else that I think is really important. It's like making sure we're getting enough satisfaction and working with like how we eat the food. I mean, I think what you said like that, those gummy bears can be, like you said, I enjoy them. It's also actually like I need those simple carbs to do like to help with my performance and my workout. But like, regardless, like we can fit in foods people love to their life and still preserve our health and make progress with whatever the individual goals are. And a big part of it, and I think again, and this is also something to help with relationship with food, it's working on how we eat the food and continuing to work on that will shift away from the labeling things as good or bad and keeping them more neutral so that when we do have something we love, enjoy, all those diets may call them bad or whatever. And a lot of people may think that way because that's just what, um, yeah, I think. But we end up not really feeling so bad because we know that the food itself is not bad. And what matters is how you feel. So I think eating in a way that supports feeling well allows that flexibility and also being able to make progress at the same time.
I think this is more on the therapy end of things. I think a lot of people are disconnected from their body and they don't know what feeling well in their body looks like, feels like. And they have this version of what they think it should feel like. And so a lot of the work that I have to do is just getting people back in touch with their body of like, how does this actually feel? And it's not for me. So I've struggled with like eating disorder stuff in the past. And it hasn't even been like the past couple years is I've been more aware how certain foods impact my body, um like GI stuff, or like I'm like, oh, this food makes me feel bloated. Not good or bad. It's just something I'm noticing. Whereas 10 years ago, I wasn't even aware of that because I was just so disconnected from my body. So for me on my end, it's helping people connect with their body and actually be curious about what does feel good and what doesn't feel good. And eat the foods you enjoy. And when you eat them, to your point, how are you eating them? Are you eating them and being present with it? Are you taking your time and like savoring what you're eating? Are you appreciating it? Are you continuing to eat it? And then you notice, like, after I've had like one slice of cake, I want another. So I let myself have another slice of cake. And I realized it didn't really hit the same. It wasn't as tasty. Like, being curious. Or it could even be like, yep, it hit the same. And I'm really happy I had that second piece of cake. Right. And so a lot of this comes, I think, down to building a sense of inner trust,
Mhm. Def-
that foundation. I think we all want rules around what to eat and how to be healthy. And I think guidelines can be very important and crucial. However, it comes down to the individual, and you need to develop that sense of self trust to know what works and what doesn't work for you. And also have the flexibility and understanding that you're not going to be perfect. There's times where, like, last Christmas or something, I went home to visit my family and I feel like I reverted back into just like overeating. And I knew I was full. I was like, I don't want this, but it was just something that was happening. Like, I was like, you know what, this is happening. I'm just gonna roll with the punches. And when I get back home, that's when I can like address this and like be curious about it, because I don't have the space to actually address this right now. And I've been in recovery for like 10 years. So like, you know what I mean? And so it's not having to do it perfectly, but it's finding that balance of like, okay, you can come back to homeostasis.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the greatest gifts we can give to ourselves. Lies imperfection. Like just normalize it, embrace it, be okay with messy moments and like please that I just think is one of the most wonderful gifts we can give to ourselves. It will help to take all this unnecessary pressure, I think, off and help with the relationship with food if we really work on, and I know it can be easier said than done. Like it really can. Even it's, like the change of how we think. It's, not something I'm aware of it, that it's not like a switch that we can always, flip. But if we can work on really introducing that concept and like reinforce it, get more familiar with it and practice it, especially if there's been like years and years of dieting or years and years of being exposed to the diety kind of mindset, it can take time. But yeah, I think that's a very, very important and key step. It's working on that, like normalizing the imperfection. I am a big believer in, with a healthy lifestyle, the believer of having moments where we indulge or overindulge. Like that's okay. Hey, and I do it myself too. Like I definitely have
Yeah.
like my moments where I'm overeating. And like I said, I have a big sweet tooth. So, there are times where, yeah, I kind of find myself, I'm at the point where I'm like uncomfortable but like it can be, this can be a part of a very healthy lifestyle. But
Yeah.
the key is, how do we respond to when these moments happen? It's not about being perfect, avoiding things, or feeling like it can't ever happen in order for me to be successful. The key is being able to utilize feedback and in a productive way, so that
Yes.
you can like move on and figure out, what did I learn from this? Is there something I want to do next time? Do I want to plan differently? So that's where I think part of the, yeah, definitely like a lot of the work comes in. It's like, again, it's so much more than what we eat. It's like work that goes into changing our mindset, our narratives, how we respond.
I think that narrative change is the game changer when it comes to this.
Mhm.
I think, like you said, it's not about being perfect. It's knowing you're going to be imperfect, and it's how you respond after you have imperfections or go off course of what was planned. And I think we can't control our feelings about things,
Mhm.
right? And our feelings are valid. I do think we have some autonomy, though, over the narrative that we are making out of those feelings.
Yeah.
Am I going to choose the narrative of, see, I suck, I'm a failure, I'm bad, I'm fat, blah, 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 and you overeat? Or are you going to say, hey, I'm feeling ashamed right now and I'm feeling disappointed in myself, and I'm human, and eating what I ate doesn't take away my worth. And even though I feel these things, those feelings do not equate to my worth,
Yeah.
like separating them.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me think of how, so I used to struggle with binge eating, and I was
Yep.
in that binge restrict kind of cycle when I was kind of doing that. And this was even in like when I was trained dietitian, like I struggled with it. And one of the absolute like game changers for me that just helped with getting to a much better place with it. Like when I say better place, like getting to the point where I feel like I have a really great strong handle on this. I feel in control. It's happening way less. The narrative changing helped so much with that. Instead of punishing myself through restriction, I just remember one day I was like, okay, instead I actually like kind of paused and I just said, okay, that happened. What can I do now to take care of myself? And I remember going on a walk that day. This was in like 2021. This is very like clear to me. I just remember asking myself that question and then going on a walk. And there, instead of this idea, okay, you can't eat any treats or sweets or sugar for the next, really the rest of your life, which is like what I used to, it almost like justified
Yeah.
the binge eating, like, because I'm
100%.
allowed to have it the rest of my life. I'm going to go like crazy.
Yes.
And then, I would tell myself, "You're not even gonna want it because you're gonna feel so crappy." But no, that never worked. Or, I'm glad it never worked because I wanna be able to enjoy food, but that's kind of what I would experience. Yeah, so I through personal experience, but also just I think I agree that, yeah, when we change our narratives, it impacts our actions. It can impact how we respond, and it can impact our behaviors.
Yes. Agreed. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. I love talking about this topic and I really enjoyed the dialogue. Before we wrap up, is there anything you want to throw in there, promote, any last points?
Think that, I love chatting with you, and I love that I think the meeting for like addressing more psychology and going like deeper
Mhm.
into I just think it's such an amazing like compliment, like dietitian and meeting with like a therapist like together. That is, I just think is such a powerful, like if you're looking for like a squad, a wellness squad, like that's such a great pairing.
Right.
Yeah, I think for anybody out there that feels like they would like some more support with working on the relationship with food, working on really building a lifestyle that supports the long term success with goals. And if you're tired of dieting, if you're tired of like starting over again, um, and you just want to feel like more energy, more confidence, I do in my practice, we do offer one-on-one nutrition coaching, often covered by insurance, which is a nice little plus. So, yeah, if anybody's interested in learning more, I would just invite you to reach out for a no pressure call just to see if, to learn more about our services if you feel like you could use some support.
Yeah. Love that. You can find out how to contact Rachel in the description below. And if you guys have any thoughts or comments on the conversation we had, I would love to hear them and we would love to answer any questions that come up for you.
So
Yeah, Rachel, thanks so much for coming on. Of
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
course. And for everyone else, we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out with me on Trauma Tea and Tangents. If something here made you laugh, cry, or feel a little bit more seen, then my job here is done. Remember, this isn't therapy, but if you are curious about the real thing, you can check out my practice Revive Therapy Services. And if you are wanting more tangents, tea, and truth bombs, make sure to follow, subscribe, or share this with someone who just gets it. Until next time, take care of your nervous system, drink some water, and please stop trying to diagnose your ex.